What's your name?
nervous. Over there, smiling. Selena. First and last name, or just first name?
Selena's fine. How's your day today?
Good.
Good. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
I grew up in Israel with my mom and my dad. And my mom ended up moving us to San Diego when I was 8. So I grew up in San Diego until I was 14. And then I moved out here to San Pedro.
When you were 14?
Freshman year.
What were your dreams as a child?
I wanted to do everything. I feel like I still want to kind of do everything. Like, I don't have anything set that I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. There's just a whole bunch of ideas and making it happen.
Can you tell me about your relationship with your dad and how he made you feel?
With my real dad, he was in the picture till I was 8. He was abusive to my mom, so my mom ended up just getting away and moving in with her brother in San Diego. So he was really good with me, but there's not really much that I remember with him. It's all like a blur. But he's tried to come back in the picture on and off every couple years since I was 18.
How did it make you feel, him being gone, and then how does it feel, what emotions rise up when he would try to come back in the picture?
Him being gone, it's something you get used to, you know? He was more worried about females and stuff like that, so it never really fazed me. I kind of just dealt with it. And I had my stepdad in my life, who's more like my dad than anything else. But when I first had my daughter, my dad tried coming back in the picture, and phone calls, sending money, just to get a response, I guess. But I had already been through so much without him that it was what do I need you for? So I never really gave him the chance. And he's the type of person that's he's used to people bowing down to him. So if I didn't want to talk to him, it wasn't he was going to put in the work to talk to me. So I'm more stubborn than he is because I didn't give it a chance. It's you weren't there for my life. Why would I want you in my kid's life?
What about your relationship with your stepdad? How's that, and when you think about it, how does that make you feel?
I love my relationship with my stepdad. I feel all around he's the perfect man. He does everything for me and my mom, and I wasn't even his daughter. So anything I ever needed, anything I ever wanted, he was always there to give it to me. Or my mom.
How did that feel, him being there to give you all that?
It felt like I wasn't missing anything. I feel like somebody who didn't even have me is there for us more than somebody who did. It just shows the type of character he is.
What about your relationship with your mom, and how did that feel?
My mom was always fun. She was always fun, but my grandma, I feel like my mom and my grandma are the same. My grandma doesn't show love or emotion or anything like that. It's whatever you go through, you deal with it and you move on. You don't need to cry about it. You don't need to worry about it. Just brush it off and keep it pushing. And that's how my mom is. So anytime I ever went through anything, it was hard to even talk to her about it. Because sometimes, you just want a comforting hug, Everything's going to be okay. Anything comforting. But I don't know, she's harder than I am, I guess.
How does that feel, having a mom who's a little bit closed off or hard in general? Hurt you?
I don't think it really bothered me that much, like, growing up, but it made me realize that I kind of, like, when anything got rough, I just had myself to depend on. Like, I wasn't gonna get the answers that I was looking for trying to talk to her. And it's crazy because she's always like, you never talk to me, like, talk to me about what's going on. But anytime I've ever just vented, it was just shut off really fast.
From your dad and the lack of relationship with him, to your stepdad, to your mom, what did you learn from all of them?
Everything's all over the place. Like, that's basically what it is. Like, you only have yourself to depend on.
Can you tell me about your first love and how that felt?
I wouldn't say I was really, like, ever in love until I had my daughter. Like, yeah, it was relationships, but it didn't really mean anything to me. Maybe because I wasn't, like, used to showing love. So when I first had my daughter, it was like, that's what really showed me what love was.
How does that love feel between you and your daughter?
Amazing. Like, you can't replace it.
Can you tell me about your first loss or heartbreak and how that felt?
Well, you know what? I had a few people pass away in my life, and I just felt like, okay, I'm really cold because it didn't really faze me. You know, like, people die. That's kind of my, like, oh, okay, well, you know, it happens. It's life. And when my grandma passed away, like, I don't know. I thought I was, like, heartless. Like, I didn't really cry. I didn't feel anything. It was just like, oh, okay, well, I wasn't really that close to her. I didn't know her that much. She lived in Israel. So it was like, it didn't affect me. But 2 years ago, I had gone through miscarriages, but 2 years ago I had a stillbirth. And that was probably, like, one of the first traumatic, like, losses in my life. And it broke me. And I felt like I had to deal with it alone. I was in the hospital. Well, I was pregnant with my son, and I was almost, like, 6.5 months. And I just stopped feeling movement. I was in the process of moving, and I was like, maybe I'm just doing too much. I need to relax. I laid down. I tried to see if I felt any movement, and I didn't feel any movement for, like, the whole day. So I ended up going to the doctor, and they told me that there was a blood clot in the umbilical cord that just kind of, like, stopped the baby from breathing. And I didn't have any, like, options. Like, there was no options. There's no, like, we're gonna do this or we're gonna do this. It was just kind of like, well, first thing in the morning, you gotta go in and we have to induce you and you have to deliver. So it was just like a decision made for me. And same to go back to my mom, when I was there and I was about to deliver the baby. She was like, well, if you don't want to hold the baby, if you don't want to see the baby, just don't, because you don't want to get traumatized to the point, like, you never want to have kids again. And that's not really what I wanted to hear when I was sitting right there.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be like, even though it's gonna be, I mean, if it was me talking to my daughter, it would be like, you know, just see how you feel. Like, that's your baby. You want to hold your baby, you hold your baby. see like how you anything comforting, you know? People deal with things differently. And it broke me, and I didn't even have like enough time to heal. But then, not even a month later, I ended up finding out that I was pregnant again. And I was scared. I was scared out of my mind, because I was like, what if this happens again? Like, you've already had multiple miscarriages. Like, what if you just can't have kids? So it scared me. I was going to go get an abortion, and I was devastated because I've never done that before. So I went to the clinic, and I felt like I was going to pass out. And as soon as the doctor checked me, she told me, like, I don't know if this changes your mind, but you're pregnant with twins. And I automatically broke down. I didn't know what to do, so I just walked out. And I sat there all night and I thought about it, and I was like, things don't happen like out of coincidence, you know? Like, things happen for a reason. So if I'm able to go through what I just went through, then I should be able to give both these babies like a chance to see what happens, to make it. You know, like, who am I to play God? Like, this happened to me for a reason, so let's go with it. And I haven't even healed from everything that just happened. So I had, the pregnancy was a mess. There was constant like problems. Being pregnant with twins, it's always a risk. So that's one risk you're willing to take. And then having all the background that I had with like pregnancies, it was just even higher. So I knew what it was going into it. But I ended up going to preterm labor. Everything was okay. Every appointment I had with my doctor, it was always bad news. So it felt good after having been rushed into like an emergency C-section to have both my daughters there.
So you were able to have your babies?
Yeah, I had both my daughters. Everything was fine. They were just really tiny. And I felt kind of like relief, like the doctor was wrong, you know, everything's gonna be okay. Like, this is kind of like my blessing. And the doctors ended up making a mistake with one of the twins, and we ended up losing her. And that one like really broke me. I feel like going through the loss with my son kind of prepared me to deal with it differently, but that one like really messed me up. And it's only been a year like since I lost my daughter, but I still haven't really figured out how to deal with it.
Who first taught you love and how?
My daughter. It was just unconditional, and it was somebody that I could be different with. I didn't want to be like my mom. And she became like my best friend. We did everything together. It was like a love that you can't break. Like, no matter what you do, your kids are always going to love you. It's not the same as like everybody else. People always leave. People always like change their feelings, you know, but that's like unconditional.
How would you describe that unconditional love as far as you feel?
Like endless.
What's love to you now compared to what it was when you were younger?
You know, it's crazy because I didn't really feel like there was much love when I was younger. So this is like all I really like hold on to. Because I come from like a super strict Arabic background, and I don't know, it was just like love was like weakness. And when I was 8 years old, when I first came out here to San Diego, we were staying with one of my mom's aunts, and somebody like from the family had molested me when I was 8. And when I was in high school, my first time was rape. So it was like there was really like no love there. And with my family, it was more like they were more well off. So anything you needed, it was just kind of like handed to you. It wasn't like, I don't know.
Affection.
Yeah. It was more like we do everything for you. So it's like, why are you unhappy?
So love to you now. So what's love to you now, and how you show it to the ones you love? How do you show your love to the people you love?
I do everything I can for my close friends, my family. I'm pretty aggressive. I'm pretty like mean and upfront and hard-headed, but when I care about somebody, I show them everything I have, like 100%. I give it all 100% because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, like I did everything that I could.
Can you tell me about a good day for you? Just in general, what's a good day for you?
When me and both my daughters are happy.
Can you tell me about a bad day and how you push through it?
I don't really have bad days like that. Like I don't really let things affect me as much as I used to. After going through those losses, it was like anybody can say anything to me and it won't even bother me anymore. When before anything would get like a reaction out of me. So most of my bad days are just me trying to get through my loss, and sometimes I just break down and I don't know how to.
What are 2 things that have shaped you, good or bad?
I think my losses have, because in a weird way, like it made me a better version of myself. So even though it was traumatic and it was a horrible experience, I feel like it just calmed me down a little bit. Like not every situation deserves a reaction.
What has inspired you and why?
My daughters basically inspire me to keep going. Like I just want the best for both of them. So no matter like what I try to do, it's always just to benefit us in the long run.
What has been a humbling experience for you, and can you describe the feelings during that experience?
I feel like I'm being like repetitive.
It's okay.
Um, Same thing, like with my losses. Like, it definitely broke me.
Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
When I was in the NICU with my daughters, being a parent to a preemie baby, yet alone like two, it's insane. Like, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you're constantly worrying about your kids right in front of you, if they're even gonna make it. And you're trusting it, like, you're trusting their life into people's hands that you don't even know. It was a battle. My daughter was in the NICU for 3 months before she came home. And every day it was constant alarms to nurses rushing back and forth with anything going wrong, and you trying to make sense of everything that's happening with your mind just messed up, and doctors asking you to make decisions and you don't even know what they're talking about, and they can't even help you make the decision because they can't give you advice on what to do, but they're the people that know exactly what's going on. So it's like, you got to make the best decision for these little lives that are right in front of you. And it was a constant struggle, walking into the NICU and having one baby on this side doing amazing, and then one baby on this side on the verge of giving up. It wasn't even bittersweet, it was all just hell. And it's really hard because it's your mind registers things and then you dream about it later. And there's been plenty of times where I've woken up in my sleep crying because my dreams were so vivid on what was going on at the time and just other things happening. And it's I can't get it out of my head and I can't let it go. And I feel like I'm still in that war zone.
You feel you'll get out of that war zone?
I'm trying my hardest. I'm keeping my mind busy. I try to stay busy. But there are times where I just can't even leave the house. And it's not fair to my kids who want to get out and do stuff, but it's I'm scared to live.
Same type of question. Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time that you can relate to the word peace.
Honestly, I'm more at peace when I'm just holding my daughter Ruby. Not only did I go through so much to have her and to make sure she was okay, but she fought so hard to stay with me. So anytime she's just on me, about to fall asleep, and I'm just looking at her, kind of makes everything just worth it.
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life, the emotions that came with it, and how you endured?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
A hard time in your life, either a hard event and the time around it, and it's okay if it's back to the babies too. That's what the answer is. That's what the answer is. was a hard time in your life, and how you, because you're obviously still here, how you got through that hard time, or how you continue to get through that hard time?
Only because I haven't really like completely dealt with it. I would probably take it back to when I got raped in high school. It wasn't like I wanted to kill myself. It was more like I was cutting myself to ease the pain. So I was cutting myself a lot. And it was weird to say, but it felt really good. Like, it took my mind away from what had happened. And I honestly don't know how I got over it, because I dealt with it on my own. But just after a couple years, the pain just kind of went away, and I didn't feel the need to do any of that. My mom had walked in on me one time, and I don't know if you remember like those bands that like sport players wear. They're like thick, like sponge bands that you get at like Hot Topic.
Kind of.
They're like, I don't know, they're like sweatbands almost. That's what they look like. I had it on my arm, and I guess I had cut myself where I was bleeding through, and my mom had seen it, and she broke down, and she was like, we give you everything. What could possibly be like that bad in your life that you need to do any of that? And that's when I had told her what had happened to me, and it was already like 2 years after it happened.
How old were you when it happened?
I was 16. And I told her when I was 18, I was getting ready to graduate high school. And she just brushed it off like it was nothing. But it was like my wake-up call, because that's when I saw that, you know, it's me going through this by myself, and I'm the only person that's going to get myself out of it. And it just kind of like woke me up. Like, I can't depend on anybody to sit there and be like, everything is going to be okay. Like, I have to tell myself it's going to be okay.
What's some of the self-talk that you give yourself to go through those motions?
After I had lost my daughter, my mind went back to, you know, like, oh, okay, maybe you should feel that pain again. Maybe it'll help. And I stopped myself from thinking like that. And I focused on both my kids. And if anything was to ever happen to me, who would even be there for them as much as I am, or how I'm there for them. So everything that gets me through it is honestly just worrying about my kids. I don't put myself first, which I feel like I need to, because I should be doing this for myself and my kids, but it's mostly just for like everyone else around me.
Tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life and how that felt.
Probably leaving the NICU with my daughter. There was something going on in the hospital where all the babies in the hallway that she was in had caught like a staph infection. And she was the only baby in the whole hallway that she was in that didn't get it. So after being there for that long, the day we were able to leave, like, I don't think I've ever felt happier. Just to be able to have her home and safe, and if anything was to happen, like it was me. It wasn't somebody else like looking after her while I wasn't there. Because when you're in the NICU, you can only see them like certain times of the day. So I couldn't really fully be with her. And while I lost her sister, but I had her in there, like I couldn't sleep, I couldn't focus, I couldn't do anything but want to be there. And when I took her home, it was just the best feeling in the world.
What keeps you up at night?
Everything. Everything keeps me up at night. I've had like the worst luck when it comes to stuff. But at the same time, I feel like God never let me down. Everything that's ever happened was for a reason, and like to make me into the person that I am. Like I think about what can possibly go wrong. Like my biggest fear is like losing either one of my daughters, because I've already lost so much. So I try to keep them in this like little bubble. And it's hard because I feel like nobody should really live like that, but that's where I said like I'm scared to like live. I'm scared of the world, because I don't ever want to lose the two things that like make me the happiest.
What keeps you going every day?
Them like being happy. I'm trying to do everything I can to like, I'm starting my own businesses. I'm trying to focus on anything that doesn't have to do with anything negative. I'm just trying to focus on building myself up to where I can support both my kids without needing anybody's help ever.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets?
That I never put myself first. Ever. I always worry about if I make this choice or this decision, how is it going to affect everybody else around me? Like I can never allow myself to fully be happy. I feel like I worry too much about everybody else around me to do what I want to do.
So you're alive and well. Do you feel that you can change those regrets? If not change, at least make amends with them?
I'm trying my hardest to. I'm trying to learn to just have more self-love, and I'm trying my hardest to just not worry so much about everybody else around me and what they think. As long as I'm happy and my daughters are happy, that should be enough. And I hate that I have to think about how my parents feel or how anybody else feels in my life with any decision that I make that I know is going to benefit me in the long run. I don't know why I worry about what anybody has to say or think about me when I'm doing it on my own anyways. So I feel like I just need to focus more on that and getting out of the hole that I like dug myself into.
You told me your dreams as a kid were do a little bit of everything. What are your dreams now?
I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm always just hustling. Like I'm always just, and I think mostly it's just to keep my mind busy. I feel like I have so many ideas. Like I have a meal prep business, I have an edible business coming, and I have like little things that I pick up here and there that I do. I started taking classes to like do nails. Like I feel like I get bored with just one thing, and I have my LVN, I have my x-ray tech, I have my phlebotomy license, I have all of that. But I did it for almost 8-9 years, and I just get bored of the same thing. So there's just so much that I want to do. And probably one of my biggest things is I want to open up like a big restaurant. Like probably like 3 stories, like where you can have like parking, a restaurant, a nightclub, and even like a hotel on top. Like where you don't even have to leave the place. You know? But you got to start somewhere. So I'm just trying to do things here and there.
So you're the author of your life book. What's your picture perfect ending?
I just want to be happy. Like genuinely happy where I don't have anything to worry about.
So that's the end of any questions that I have. Is there anything that you would like to add or say?
Mm-mm.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.